In this video, we are going to focus on the fishes, which remember are in our phylum Chordata, and they are vertebrates. Fish can first be classified as either having a jaw or not. If we look at our phylogenetic tree here, our jawless fish, or ones that do not have a jaw, includes our Myxini hagfishes and our Petromyzontida fishes. And then they can also be classified as jawed fish, and so fish that have jaws. Now, within the jawed fish, they can be further classified as either being cartilaginous fish or bony fish. So our cartilaginous fish include our chondriichthyes, which includes things like our sharks and rays. And then the bony fish includes the ray-finned fishes and the lobe-finned fishes. And remember that the cartilaginous fish and the bony fish are all considered jawed fish, or fish that have jaws. And you can see that designation right here on the split of this phylogenetic tree. So first we'll take a look at the hagfish, which are in class Myxini. And they are marine, so they're found in the ocean, and they are eel-like, so they are kind of like a long skinny, they almost look like a snake. They are scavengers. They feed on living or dead animals, and they have these keratinized teeth, and keratin is just a tough protein. And they have the ability to rasp flesh from their prey, so it's almost like scraping the skin and other tissues off of their prey. They have gills that are used for respiration, and respiration just means gas exchange. And primarily we're talking about carbon dioxide and oxygen, although there are other gases involved as well. And one notable thing about the hagfish is that they have these glands called slime glands, and they produce mucus. And when I say they produce mucus, they produce like copious amounts of mucus. If you had a container with hagfish in it, it would very soon just be full of slimy mucus. You might want to go Google a video or something because it is absolutely disgusting looking. But these slime glands, this mucus helps them to avoid predation. It makes them really slippery, and so it's hard for a predator to actually get to them. And I should mention that agnatha, this word here, refers to the jawless fish, and then the class of hagfish, or the class Myxini, is just more specific. Another agnatha, or another jawless fish, are those in the class Petromyzontida, and these are also known as lampreys. And in this picture here, the fish is not the lamprey. The lamprey are these kind of black, once again, kind of eel-like organisms that are hanging off of the fish. Now, lampreys can be found in saltwater, so they can be marine or freshwater. They have a rasping tongue, and you can see that their mouth is kind of the stuff of nightmares. So they have all these little teeth that allow them to basically kind of like Velcro themselves onto their prey, and then they can sit there and kind of digest and eat their flesh. They are often parasitic. They are ectoparasites, which means that they are outside the body, as you can see on this picture here. So they are hanging onto the outside of this poor fish that is basically has this stuck in its flesh. As mentioned on the previous slides, agnatha refers to jawless fish, whereas gnathostomes are jawed fish. And a jaw is just like your mandible. So think of your mouth and how you have a like a mandible that is hinged so you can open and close your mouth. And so that's what that jaw is. So the fish that are classified as these gnathostomes have these true jaws, so these hinge structures attached to the cranium. And the advantage is that they can grasp and tear at their prey. They also have two sets of paired fins, which allows them to kind of maneuver more accurately. And this allows them to pursue their prey and be able to basically change direction really quickly in order to chase after their prey that is probably trying to get away from them. So these fishes are more predatory. These jawed fish can be further classified as either part of the superclass Chondrichthyes or Osteichthyes. And so Chondrichthyes are cartilaginous fish. And the CHOND, that prefix actually is related to cartilage. And the Osteichthyes are bony fish, and oste or osteo is the prefix related to bones. So first, taking a closer look at the chondrichthyes. These are the cartilaginous fish. Remember, chondro or con stands for or is related to cartilage. And so these fish have a skeleton, but their skeleton is made out of cartilage instead of bone. And examples of organisms in the superclass include sharks, rays, and skates. They are marine, so they are found in saltwater or the ocean. Most of them are predators, so you're probably familiar with sharks being an apex predator of the ocean. But some of them are actually filter feeders. So this picture of a whale shark down here, they actually are filter feeders. And it's interesting because they're really, really big, but they survive by eating krill and other small organisms in the water. I actually got to swim with a whale shark in Mexico several years ago now. And it's, first of all, they're beautiful, but you also don't really have to worry about danger because they're not interested, they're not predatory, so they're not interested in attacking anybody. And they're very gentle and just kind of swim around and filter feed off of the stuff in the water. We're going to take a closer look at sharks, which, remember, this is one of our cartilaginous fishes. So sharks are known for having a good sense of smell. They also have these sensory receptors called the ampullae of Lorenzini, and these are electroreceptors, and they're able to detect magnetic or electromagnetic fields produced by living organisms. So it's interesting that every living thing is actually giving off some electromagnetic radiation. And so they can actually sense the presence of things like fish or dolphins or humans in the water by detecting these electromagnetic fields that all of these organisms are giving off. You can see in this picture here, you can see these kind of pores in the snout of the tiger shark, and that's where these ampullae of Lorenzini are located. They also have a lateral line, so you can see that they've got quite a bit of sensory information up towards the head, but they also have this lateral line which goes along the length of the body. And it can also help with detecting movement and vibration. And this is in most fishes, so not just sharks. Other fishes have this lateral line as well. And if you've ever seen a school of fish that are, just swimming around together, and you notice that one of them changes direction and they all very quickly are able to adjust and change direction, is because they have these lateral lines and they can sense when there's movement and electromagnetic fields around them. Sharks do reproduce sexually, and they do have internal fertilization. Now, some of them give birth to live young, and others will lay eggs. If you've ever touched a shark, you know that their skin is really what they say abrasive. They have these placoid scales that are called dermal denticles. And dermal is a word related to skin, and dent, you should think of dentist or tooth. And so their skin is essentially made up of these like modified teeth like scales. And so if you were to ever kind of rub a shark but going against the grain, it would be very uncomfortable for you and the shark probably. And so this is a picture of looking at shark skin under a microscope. Fish in the superclass Osteichthyes. These are our bony fish, and they have a bony skeleton. This is called ossified. So ossification is also related to this word of bone. And the bone is harder than cartilage, and that's because the bone tissue, so bone tissue, has minerals. So calcium phosphate is a mineral in the extracellular matrix. You might not know what the extracellular matrix is yet, but it's essentially the material surrounding the cells in a tissue. And so imagine if you have these cells, and then all around those cells, you have this hard mineral rock-like substance that is forming this really hard extracellular matrix. And this is also true of humans as well. Our bones have calcium phosphate in their extracellular matrix. These bony fish also have a swim bladder, which is an organ that can either take in air or let out air to help control buoyancy. There are two subclasses of Osteichthyes. There's Actinopterygii, which are the ray-finned fishes, and Sarcopterygii, which are the lobe-finned fishes. So if we look at the ray-finned fishes, you can see that they have these bones that are supporting their fins. So they have these almost like little spikes here. And some examples of ray-finned fishes include tuna, bass, trout, and salmon. The lobed fin fishes have more fleshy fins, which are supported by bones on the inside. So there are bones, but the bones are kind of more internal and covered with more tissue. And this is more similar to the tetrapods, which we're going to talk about, but the tetrapods include things like amphibians, reptiles, mammals, and birds. Some examples of these lobe-finned fishes are lungfishes and coelacanths. And coelacanth is this fish right here.